Welcome back to the other side with Ian and Anna. Anna's actually back there getting packed for our upcoming trip to Jordan and Egypt. It's gonna be our first time in Africa and the Middle East. But for now, we're gonna share with you our 24 days in Costa Rica and the best things to do around this amazing country. Located on the Pacific coast, Manuel Antonio National Park is the most visited park in all of Costa Rica, with more than 350,000 visitors every single year. The funniest thing about Manuel Antonio is that it's also the smallest park, but don't let that fool you. There are 5 stunning white sand beaches here and more animals than you could ever imagine. We actually saw our first and favorite 3-toed sloth here and a ton of other different birds and monkeys the entire time. Just like all parks and waterfalls across Costa Rica, you'll have to pay an entrance fee. Manuel Antonio is $18 per person plus $6 for parking, and you could only book this through their online portal. I'll link that in the description below so you guys can find it down there. You can't show up without a QR code on your phone. Also, it is closed on Mondays too. The trails here are stunning with dense jungle even overflowing onto the beaches. We put this one at number 10 and it's all because of the crowds. They can ruin your time there, so watch out. We recommend getting there right when it opens at 7 a.m. We sadly got there a little late at 9 a.m. and tour buses were coming in. If you want to skip the crowds, keep hiking after the first beach because then you will be alone in the park and there will be some epic viewpoints. This is a huge disclaimer. When you're coming here, you're gonna see locals on the street trying to flag you down, trying to make you pull into their lots, and this is a mile away from Manuel Antonio. They're just trying to screw over tourists, take money from you. They have fake vests and fake badges, so this is definitely illegal. I don't know why they keep letting it happen, but drive past them. If they jump in front of your car, tell them you're going to pick up a friend at the entrance to the national park.
We just left the national park.
So you already went to the
park?
park?
We already went.
That's what we did, and they kind of pointed us to it. Keep driving until Google says you arrived at Manuel Antonio, and this is where you can park. Considering all that, Manuel Antonio is still a great place to view wildlife and chill at the beach for the day. If you're heading down the coast, why not put it into your road trip? And that's what we're gonna actually talk about next. Number 9, road tripping Costa Rica.
So if you haven't caught on or you're new here, Ian and I love road tripping. We just love the feeling of being in control. It also allows you to see a lot more with a lot less hassle. But it is very expensive to do this in Costa Rica, so there are more affordable and cheaper options like taking the bus. And I do recommend if you're only doing maybe 1 or 2 spots, the bus is a great option. We were gonna hit up a lot of spots far away. So for us, it actually made more sense to do the car. So you really need to look at what is best for you. Now let's talk about what we did with the car. We got it for $1,400 for 17 days. It was actually almost $1,000 more at $2,400, but a very close friend of mine let me use her discount code that she gets through her corporation. I don't know if it was entirely worth it, but I know we wouldn't have been able to do the things that we did without the car.
¿Cómo se llama?
Buenos días.
Gross dias.
Español, ¿está así?
No, español. But otherwise, there is something you need to know about renting a car in Costa Rica. A lot of people call this the car scam, but it's really just a matter of false advertising. The fact of the matter is 9 times out of 10, you're gonna get to Costa Rica and that original price they were charging you, they're gonna dab on about $30 to $40 a day for taxes and fees. These are actually mandatory fees in the country, but they'd rather just take that away and not show you that so that you book with them, and then later you're just kind of screwed. It's one of those things like, just tell me how much it's gonna be and I'll pay it. Hey, if it's too good to be true, it probably is, like all our parents always tell us. Coming up, number 8, Rio Celeste.
By far the most beautiful waterfall in all of Costa Rica, Rio Celeste is definitely a cut above the rest. And the reason? The piercing blue water. When I saw this waterfall online, I legit thought people were turning up the saturation in their videos and photos, but let me tell you, the water is that blue. There's actually a legend on why the water is so blue. Some locals say that it's because when God was finished painting the sky, he dipped his paintbrush in the waters here. We ended up driving 1 hour from La Fortuna to get to this waterfall, which is located in Volcano National Park. Of course, you gotta pay the entrance fee. It's about $12 per person and $2 for parking. I would say there's so much more to do here other than the waterfall. You can cross hanging bridges over blue lagoons and look for incredible wildlife while hiking through the rainforest. Surprisingly, the trails here were some of our favorite in Costa Rica, and that's because you're not only hiking through primary rainforest, but you're also hiking through a cloud forest, which means it will be a lot more humid, a bit cooler, and more wet compared to the rest of the country. Because of our past experience in Costa Rica, we made sure to get here right when it opened up at 8 a.m. and there are already crowds, tour buses, and I think this is because Rio Celeste kind of went viral on Instagram and social media. From the entrance, you walk on a flat trail for about a mile until you reach the top of a massive staircase. And here, more than 300 steps down, is the magical Rio Celeste. And the staircase is kind of a cool complement to the entire experience. It's one of those places during travel where you have to see it to believe it, because wow, the water is just hypnotizing here. I think it's very important that you know that there's no swimming allowed here, which is super sad for us, but this is because there's been some deaths in the past. Also remember, if you're coming during rainy season, you have a high chance of the water not looking so blue. It might have a more muddy tint to it because of the amount of rainfall here. And also, if you guys have ever been to the Philippines, this waterfall really reminded us of Kawasan Falls. That waterfall over there is a little bit better than Rio Celeste, if I'm gonna be honest, because you get to canyoneer there, cliff jump through amazing blue lagoons, and it's just a fun day. The only tip I got for this place is that you should just get here right when it opens up and maybe run a little bit to get there before the crowds come rushing in.
Now time for number 7, Crocodile Bridge.
First, let's talk about the difference between an alligator and a crocodile, because I think this is something that the whole world is confused about. Alligator has more of a U shape and they're typically smaller. A crocodile has a pointier nose and they're typically bigger on average. The biggest difference that you need to know between these two is that alligators only swim in freshwater and crocodiles swim in both freshwater and saltwater. Meaning if you go to Costa Rica, there's a chance you may see a crocodile come next to you in the ocean. Did not happen to us, so don't worry, I don't think it's that common, but it does happen. So you can see crocs all over Costa Rica, but we were able to see a bunch in this one area, Crocodile Bridge. The Tarcoles River begins at the point where two different rivers meet, creating the border of Corcovado National Park. The river is actually super contaminated and they're working to fix that, but it hasn't stopped the wildlife from coming. If you need a reference point, this bridge is located 25 minutes north of the city called Jaco. So on our way up from our road trip, we didn't really know. We just saw a bunch of people standing on the sides and we're like, oh, this must be the bridge that we read about. We pulled over, we hopped out, and let me tell you, it is much scarier than you think. These are behemoths, but it was really a thrilling thing, and I'd never seen crocodiles that close. I'd only see them maybe while we were driving on boats on rivers, but you really get the full effect here. It's definitely a must stop if you are road tripping at all in Costa Rica. You gotta find the Crocodile Bridge. This is also a great stopping point to use the restroom, get some food, souvenirs. They've kind of turned it into their own little touristy area.
Around the Tarcoles River, you can go on kayak tours, boat tours, but there are illegal tours. They're considered to be illegal because they're feeding animals. Go with the tour company that does not feed the crocodiles. It's not natural, it's not cool to go feed the crocodiles.
Next up, number 6, La Fortuna.
Known as the adventure capital of Costa Rica, La Fortuna has it all. What makes this place even more epic is the 5,000-foot towering Arenal volcano that you can see from every single angle. I think La Fortuna is perfect for adrenaline junkies, people that just want to have fun on their vacation, and perfect for families because you can go whitewater rafting, canyoneering, cliff jumping, zip lining, and ATVing all over this area. We drove here from the Nicoya Peninsula and the drive along Arenal Lake was awesome. This is the largest lake in Costa Rica and you can go jet skiing, take sunset boat rides, and have some amazing meals at different viewpoints around the lake. I feel like there's a lot of disclaimers, but I want to get your expectations in the right place. The volcano could be out of view for a lot of you, and that's because clouds will be covering it most of the time, which kind of sucks. The 3 days we were there, we could not see it. We even got an Airbnb, which was super cheap. We'll put it down in the description below. This Airbnb had a viewpoint from the kitchen of the entire volcano, and some days we would never even know a volcano was there. Oh, and did I even bring up the hot springs yet? La Fortuna has a total of 12 hot springs that cost anywhere from $0 all the way up to $90 per person. These volcano-fed hot springs are perfect if you want to have a relaxing day surrounded by the jungle in your own personal hot tub. Our favorite part of La Fortuna was definitely the La Fortuna waterfall. I know it's kind of basic, but that is our honest opinion. Not only can you swim here, but the waterfall itself is stunning, surrounded by huge boulders in the wild jungle. And of course, we had to pay $18 per person at the entrance. I thought it was pretty steep. Everything adds up in Costa Rica. It adds up fast and it can get annoying, but you gotta do what you gotta do. There are 500 stairs to get down to the waterfall and it only took us 15 minutes because we ran. The reason we had to rush so much is because we had a flight back home later that day at 2 p.m. in Liberia. Biggest tip is arriving right at 7 a.m. and you may just have it for yourselves for about an hour. When we arrived, there was only one other couple, which is why the time here was so much fun. If all that wasn't enough to make you want to visit, Beyonce and Jay-Z actually visited this waterfall in 2013, which is pretty dope.
No!
Next up is number 5, Nayuaca Waterfall.
Nayuaca Waterfalls, which I don't know if I'm saying that right, so please correct me in the comments below if I'm wrong. And while you're down in the comments, make sure you subscribe. But anyways, this is one of the most majestic waterfalls you'll see in the southern part of Costa Rica. It is really, really beautiful. This is located in Dominical. It was about 20 to 30 minutes from our place in Uvita. So if you're in Uvita, this is a great waterfall to go to. There are 2 parts to it. The top one is flowing and powerful, and the bottom one is just amazing. You can swim in that pool, you can cliff jump, go under the waterfall and hang out. It's really, really fun. There are a couple ways that you can see this waterfall. One, you can hike 8 miles. Yeah, that's right, 4 there, 4 back, and you still have to pay $10 for an entrance fee. We paid $32 each to take a 4x4 into the park instead. We spent 2 hours at the waterfall, but that's really all we needed there, and we only had 2 other people with us. So there's 2 really big bonuses by taking the 4x4. One, you're gonna get there before anybody else. The other great thing is basically on our way back, we saw the hikers and I looked at them and I was like, I am so glad I'm not you. Granted, maybe we would have seen a lot more wildlife if we had hiked, but again, I don't know if it was worth it. That is my personal recommendation. You guys know what's best for you. Let's head on to the next one. Number 4, Santa Teresa.
The Nicoya Peninsula is home to rugged landscapes and some of the most beautiful beaches in the country. And maybe that's why it's the #1 hotspot for tourists. I mean, when stars like Tom Brady and Mel Gibson own houses here, and other celebrities like Miley Cyrus, Matt Damon, and Matthew McConaughey visit the slice of heaven, you know it has to be pretty amazing. These towns used to be almost impossible to get to, but after roads were finally built, places like Santa Teresa and Nosara are now booming surf towns with massive crowds of remote workers. Anna and I never thought about it before, but Costa Rica is perfect for remote workers from the US because it's on Central Time and it doesn't mess up your work hours. We had great Wi-Fi at cafes all around Santa Teresa and can see why people make this their home base. We stayed 1 hour away in a place called Tambor Beach in one of our favorite hotels. The beach here was filled with locals playing soccer at night and had no presence of tourists whatsoever. That's why we loved it. But we didn't come to the Nicoya Peninsula to surf or beach roam. We actually came to visit one of 5 blue zones in the entire world. If you don't know what a blue zone is, it's where the oldest and healthiest people live. We've only visited one so far, and that was in Ikaria, Greece, one of our favorite islands. That was such a cool experience. If you want to check out that video, you could watch it right up here. We got so lucky because at our hotel, Maria and Lester were willing to bring us to local villages where these older individuals live. We drove about 45 minutes on bumpy dirt roads to the middle of nowhere where we could find some locals to interview. This was such an eye-opening experience, not only learning from the elders, but also seeing how kind the locals are in Costa Rica. Here's what some of them had to say.
Sí, claro, es que aquí se trabaja mucho en el campo y se mantiene la gente de todo lo que siembra. Arroz, frijoles, maíz, todo lo que produce aquí. No hay química, no hay nada, como dice Rosa.
Here's some other reasons that they live so long. First is they have a plan de vida, which means a strong purpose to live. The Nicoyan water is also said to have the highest concentration of calcium, which explains the lower rate of heart disease and stronger bones. Those that have lived the longest here eat a certain diet focusing on the 3 sisters: squash, corn, and beans. The one similarity we saw between Ikaria and Nicoya was that they both live close to an ocean and have constant sunshine year-round.
Surfing in Costa Rica was on our WOOT WOOT list. Why? I don't know. Ian and I are just lovers of surfing and we've done it a handful of times. We're so eager to learn and improve. Luckily, we did spend some time out west with Ian's brother in San Diego and we spent 3 days just surfing and we learned a lot. But surfing's one of those sports that you can't just get good once and then not do it for 3 months and then try to go back. It's really hard to pick up again. So one of our dreams was to take a week and just surf every day. And why is Costa Rica such a great spot to do that? Well, Well, due to its geographical position, Costa Rica is one of the most consistent surf spots in the world. And also thanks to that wonderful placement, the water is so warm. Like, you just don't have to worry about a wetsuit. Granted, you want some type of rash guard, but like, you don't need an actual wetsuit because it's really hot. Because Costa Rica has such a natural surf culture, I mean, kids are out there surfing after school. We still consider ourselves beginners and even got an instructor the first couple days. His name was Koki and he was the best. We love him. We have his number in our last video. We'll probably put it in the description below this one as well. But I highly recommend checking out our surfing in Costa Rica video. You can click right up here to see that. Some of our friends actually went down and surfed with him as well, and they were like, whoa, he really helped me get up. We stayed in Onda in Playa Grande. I recommend going there. Playa Grande is where you're just gonna have a very relaxing time. Focus on surfing, do some yoga. They've got it all set up for you at Onda. We'll also put the Onda information in the description below. Here's your itinerary. You're going to Playa Grande, you're going surfing, you're getting coconuts, and you're staying at Onda, and that's about it. Next up, we have number 2, Uvita. Uvita is a small town located in the South Pacific, and it's a great spot for relaxation. This is probably one of my favorite spots because there weren't a ton of businesses. It's very underdeveloped, low-key, hasn't hit that tourism wave quite yet, which just makes it much more enjoyable. It's also home to some of the best beaches in all of Costa Rica, including my personal favorite, Marino Ballena National Park. Ballena means whale in Spanish, and this national park couldn't have been more properly named because at the end of the long stretch of beach, there's a sandbar. At the end of this sandbar, there are 2 beaches that form to make a whale tail at low tide. You can book a boat tour if you want to head out, see some whales, but I'm not kidding you, it is known that you can spot whales from the whale tail beach. We did not see any, but we heard you can, and I just think that's crazy. Other than that, I think you could just go to this beach for a beach day. The entire sand is surrounded by beautiful palm trees, and there's a little mountain in the distance, so it's a really, really beautiful setup. Another awesome thing to do in Uvita is staying at the art villas. We actually have an entire YouTube video out about this. You can click right here to see it. It's basically these little eco-friendly pods in the middle of the jungle. We stayed for $163 a night, and we'll put that in the description below. Great value. You didn't get AC because I think that's like part of the eco-friendly part, but there was a hot shower and excellent Wi-Fi, so it did meet 2 out of my 3 must-finds when I stay at a place. But other than just the insane architecture going on there and the cool vibes, I really didn't feel like I had to leave there at all. Like, you could relax all day, there's plenty of pools to swim at, there's a slide to have some fun, there's a waterfall nearby if you did want to leave, and then there's also 2 larger villas. We got to explore the most expensive one up top, and it was absolutely incredible. If you have a big family, you guys could split this for a week, and it's $1,000 a night, but if you split it by 10 people, it's honestly not that bad.
Now finally on to number 1, Corcovado National Park.
Corcovado is the crown jewel of Costa Rica and has been named the most biologically intense place on Earth by National Geographic. Now, because it's so remote, this park is kinda hard to get to. First, you drive 5 to 6 hours down to a place called Sierpe. This is where we left our car and took a boat ride for 1 hour through the mangroves to reach Drake Bay. Drake Bay is the gateway to Corcovado, and it also has the 2nd best dive site in Costa Rica. Here, you could stay the night, and early the next morning, you have yet another 1 hour boat ride to reach Serena Ranger Station. We hired Donnie as our private tour guide, and he was one of our favorite tour guides of all time. And just so you know, multi-day tours here are not cheap. Paying for all the boat rides, rental car fees, plus more just to get down here really starts to add up. If you're on a strict budget but still want to come, you can get a day tour from Drake Bay for just $100 per person. We ended up spending a whopping $600 per person for a 3-day, 2-night tour, which included food, accommodation, the boat ride from Drake Bay, our private tour guide, and all park fees. From the very beginning, this was a wild experience because on the boat ride over, we were lucky to see humpback whales and spinner dolphins, which was a great start to the adventure. During your time at Serena, you will head out on 2 to 3 hour hikes to spot different types of wildlife. We were lucky enough to see the cute tapirs, which are the largest land mammal in Central America. Because it's the wild, you really don't have control on what animals you see, but the amount of animals that we saw was unthinkable. And a lot of them I didn't even know existed. If you're into bird watching, this park is a paradise because Costa Rica is home to more than 900 species of birds, and you could find most here in Corcovado. Also, the whole time you're on these hikes, you are surrounded by crazy monkeys high up in the canopy. During our 3 days here, we saw magical sunsets on black sand beaches, crossed crocodile-infested rivers, swam in small lagoons, and really learned more than we could have ever imagined. Some other highlights was this sleeping sloth crawling into a 200-year-old tree where bats were flying around, and seeing the leafcutter ants hard at work. If you want to head on this tour with Donnie, I will put his WhatsApp and email down in the description below. He's seriously one of the best guides we've ever had. He really cares about this rainforest. If all of this wasn't already enough, on the way back to Drake Bay, we saw yet another humpback whale, but this time the baby breached the water. This was a once-in-a-lifetime experience that we will never forget. And that's a wrap. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and got so much value out of it. If you're from the US, why not fly down there? All the flights out of major airports are super cheap, and this country has so much to offer. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, comment down below what you thought. We will see you in the next one. Tomorrow we're headed to Egypt and Jordan, so get ready for those. Woot woot, yip yip, riba riba.